Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today is another language learning video and we are talking about vocabulary acquisition. You might be following some YouTube channels that say like, this is the best way to learn vocabulary. This is the best way to learn. But I am really all for everyone has a different method that works for them. You have to try all these things, take them with a pinch of salt, and then see what works for you. How do you know if it works for you? We're going to get to that in a while. But it has to be enjoyable for you and you have to be able to see results. There are two approaches that you can do to acquire vocabulary. The one is passive learning and the other one is active learning. Passive learning is something that you do when you're not actually just sitting in front of a book and studying or taking a lesson. It's more of soaking in the vocabulary around you, hearing stuff a lot, being exposed to things a lot. But you can only be able to do passive learning if you are at a certain level already. Passive learning is not going to work for you if you're a beginner because you don't know anything. How are you going to pick up new words if you don't understand the context of the sentence or the phrase that it is? So let's park passive learning for now because that's something you'll get to at a bit more intermediate, upper beginner type of level. For now, let's talk about what I do for active vocabulary study. The first thing I love doing, which I highly recommend, but a lot of people aren't a big fan, reading. And it's easy to say, okay, just read a book and highlight the words that you don't know and look them up in the dictionary, boom. Okay, but how are you going to remember them, right? The one thing is, how useful do you see that word being for you in life? If I'm reading something in Korean and suddenly I read about airplanes and I hear the word like nitrogen because airplane wheels have nitrogen, I don't really need to know that for how I live with Korean in my life. But funnily enough, the word nitrogen did come up in the Korean exam. So thank goodness I didn't memorize nitrogen. But that's like because I'm at an upper intermediate advanced level in Korean and I was studying for this exam, right? But in general, I don't need to know about like astronomy terms or super sciencey stuff. So if I'm reading a book, whether or not it's interesting to me, I need to consider, sorry I keep touching my glasses, I cannot see. They just stay dirty no matter how many times I'm wiping them, and it's really hot. Okay, no matter how interesting the topic is to me, if I'm not going to be using it the way I use the language often, I don't need to know the word. So be very selective with the words that you are learning. Don't try to look up every single word and try to memorize it. By all means, look it up and write it down if you are curious and you want to understand 100% of the piece you're reading. But once you're getting to the memorizing stage, you have to then curate a little bit and decide which of these 10 words do I really need to know? Let me pick 7 and study those. Before I go into how you actually study and remember those words, there's 2 types of reading that you can employ. The one is intensive reading. That is when you really sit and study. You're reading page for page, word for word, and you're looking up, I don't know that word, let me look it up. Okay, this grammar point, I haven't seen that, let me look it up. And you're really engaging with the text, right? And extensive reading is reading for pleasure and reading for context. This is similar to when you're having a conversation at an upper intermediate level and you don't understand every single word, but you're not interrupting the speaker because you can generally gauge what they mean. You're zooming out, getting the gist of it, following the story or the theme, and not pausing at every single place. It isn't a matter of which one is more enjoyable or which one works best. They work best for different purposes. If you're learning a language for pleasure, just enjoying it, read extensively and get the gist of it. If you like have an exam coming up or you really need to improve your level, then read intensively. I like to do a combination of both. So if I really enjoy a book in English or Afrikaans or whatever, I will try to find the version of it in another language. So I have Atomic Habits by James Clear in English, Hungarian, and Turkish. And no, I cannot read Turkish yet. I've bought it for one day. But since I know the theme and the content of the book in English, if I'm reading the Hungarian version, I can do a line-by-line translation if I need, or I can just read the Hungarian extensively and then go back to the English and be like, oh, okay, that's what I got. If it's a topic I'm super interested in, for example, UX design or user research, I will do a lot of intensive reading. And this is how I glean a lot of my vocabulary. And an interesting thing that I'll share with you guys that I'm not really proud of, or like it's a weird thing, is my vocabulary in Hungarian is like, when it's related to design and tech and crypto and space exploration, whatever, high vocabulary. Talk about that stuff, love that stuff. When it's like daily conversations, like finding my way around town, ordering a coffee, I'm not really good at that because I'm learning Hungarian for the pleasure of the language and to engage with things that I'm personally interested in. So I read a lot of articles online about user research, kutatás in Hungarian. Love it. And I keep seeing the same words all over, like felhasználó is a user, right? These words are always popping up around me. And I've never really had to write them down more than once or twice because every day that I'm listening to a podcast in Hungarian about design or tech or reading an article, talking to a friend, browsing websites and ebooks, and the more times I get exposed to these words in different contexts, the more they stick. Now, that's the way I approach learning vocabulary. It's a little bit of like passive and active learning combined together because I passively acquire it and then I actively try and study it. But if you're going more the active route, and if you're this type of person, then I highly recommend flashcards. Everybody talks about them. It's not about which flashcard app is the best. It is about spaced repetition. Your brain remembers things if it's reintroduced to the thing at spaced intervals over and over again until you're like, okay, my brain has heard this enough. I've got it down pat, right? If you hear a word 6 months ago and you never hear it again, you don't interact with that word, you're probably going to forget it. Very lucky if you remember it. But if you're hearing it every day, every week, every 3 weeks, that word is going to be ingrained in your memory. So it doesn't matter if you're using paper flashcards that you made yourself, if you're using Anki, the app I designed, whatever you want, if you're seeing these words in a spaced repetition pattern, you're going to remember them better. Learn the words in context. Please, this is my pet peeve. Don't learn a single word because you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone if you're learning the word in a sentence or a phrase, because you're going to learn sentence structure, vocabulary, grammar, all of those things in once, right? So instead of me learning like kutatás means research, I could learn a whole sentence of when designing apps, conducting user research is really important. That doesn't mean that you have to make your flashcards be like super long sentences. Just a little phrase is good enough. Or if you do have those single words, engage with them and write your own sentences. Get those sentences corrected online. There's apps like Journaly, which my friend Robin made. There are apps like High Native, where you can post a phrase or a sentence that you wrote and people can correct it for you. So as long as you're getting input from people who can help you, maybe a tutor, then that is a wonderful way for you to be ingraining those words in your memory. So the points I want you to remember is that reading is a really good way to gather vocabulary. If you don't like reading, you can really get the same type of experience from listening, just exposing yourself to the language a lot. Listening to shows, to people, to podcasts, whatever. But then obviously if you want to learn like the spelling of the word and stuff, you're going to have to look it up and write it down somewhere. You do remember things better. It's been proven if you write it by hand, whether that is paper and pen or iPad or whatever. Try to write it by hand. It just helps a lot more. I hope this gave you a little bit more of an overview. If you want me to go a lot more in depth into like techniques like the gold list method or spaced repetition or any other vocabulary memorizing technique, do let me know and I can make a video about that. I just wanted to make a more zoomed out approach of like how I personally enjoy learning vocabulary. I hope this was interesting and useful for you. It's been very weird looking at a blurry camera for this whole time. My glasses are just like slipping off and like they just got to stay clean. And my mascara is like some super lengthening mascara that like scratches on the lens and then blah. But that aside, it was very lovely to chat languages again with you guys. And I also do language coaching. So if this was useful for you, but you want a more personalized approach to really work on a plan for you, or if you have individual issues that you want to talk through, or if you just want to hang out, whatever, please do book a language coaching call with me. And thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!